I still remember the first time she laughed, really laughed, in front of me. Not polite, not forced. The kind that made her tilt her head back, touch her collarbone like she had to keep something from spilling out. That sound stayed with me long after she left the room. She was my boss's sister, technically, but everyone just called her Aunt Mara. She'd come by the office a few times a week, bringing coffee and sarcastic comments that landed softer than she meant them to. Her voice carried this calm command, low, slightly rough, like she'd smoked a few lives' worth of truth. I was 26, new to the job, trying to prove myself. She was mid-40s, maybe 45, but she moved like time worked differently around her. Everything she did was deliberate, the way she set her coffee down, the pause before she looked at you. That morning, it was raining hard enough to blur the glass walls of the office. The hum of computers, the smell of wet concrete, the buzz of cheap fluorescent lights, all of it faded when she leaned over my desk. "Still here?" she asked, her voice low enough that I almost thought I imagined it. I nodded. "Trying to finish the report before your brother calls again." She smiled, slow, a little crooked. "He doesn't call me unless he's desperate. You, though," she looked down at my screen. "You work harder than my husband ever did." Her words shouldn't have meant anything, but they landed like a hand against my chest. I couldn't tell if she was teasing or confessing. When she stepped closer to see the file, the faint scent of her perfume, something warm, not sweet, filled the space between us. I felt her sleeve brush my arm. Just fabric, nothing more. But my breath caught anyway. She noticed. I could tell by the way she didn't move back right away. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching for something she didn't ask out loud. "You missed a decimal," she said finally, her tone clipped, like she needed to remind herself what this was. I corrected it, pretending my hands weren't trembling. "Thanks." She nodded but didn't leave. "You remind me of someone," she said after a beat. "Who?" "Myself," she murmured. I didn't know what to do with that. The room felt too quiet, the kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. She reached for the folder beside me, her fingers brushing mine. Just a moment, maybe less. But the air changed again, thicker, charged. Her eyes dropped to our hands, then back to my face. She gave that half smile again. Part challenge, part retreat. "You'll burn out if you keep this up," she said, soft but certain. "Trust me." "I don't mind burning a little," I answered before I could stop myself. Her expression flickered, surprise, maybe. Or recognition. Then she laughed, quietly, like she was trying not to. "Careful," she said, gathering the papers. "You sound like you mean that." I wanted to tell her I did. That I'd been meaning a lot of things I shouldn't. But before I could, the door opened. Her brother's voice filled the office. Casual, loud, completely wrong for the moment. "Mara, you ready?" She didn't look at him. She looked at me. Just one long glance, steady and unreadable. Then she set the folder down. "Later," she said and walked out, leaving the scent of rain, coffee, and something I couldn't name. And just like that, the silence she left behind felt heavier than her presence. The rain didn't stop for 3 days after that morning. It seemed to stretch out the silence between us, long, steady, unspoken. When she finally came back to the office, it was a Saturday. No one else was there. I told myself I was only catching up on work. Maybe she told herself the same. She stood by the window, her hair a little damp from the drizzle. No makeup this time. Just a plain sweater and a faint tiredness under her eyes. It made her look softer, and somehow more unreachable. "Couldn't stay away?" she asked. I shrugged, pretending to focus on the screen. "Deadline." She walked over, slow, careful. "You remind me of me," she said again. "When I thought hard work would keep me from thinking too much." That caught me off guard. And did it? She smiled faintly. For a while. Until life caught up. There was a pause. The sound of rain against glass filled the space she left open. I knew a little about her. Divorced, no kids, a small house outside the city. People said she used to teach art before she joined her brother's company. I'd seen her hands, the way she held a pen, like it was something delicate. There was a steadiness there, but also restraint, like she was always one word away from saying something she shouldn't. "I don't know how you do it," I said quietly. "Always so composed." She gave a soft laugh. "Composed?" Her voice turned dry. "You mean old enough to know better?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." She stepped closer, resting one hand on my chair. Her fingertips brushed the back of my shoulder, light enough to question if it happened at all. "You think I don't see how you look at me?" My throat tightened. "I don't." "Don't lie," she said gently. "You're young but not that good at hiding it." I turned toward her, and for a moment our faces were too close, closer than made sense. I could feel the warmth of her breath, faintly mint and coffee. "You shouldn't say things like that," I said. "But because someone might believe them?" Her tone wasn't mocking, just tired. There was a flicker in her eyes then. Something that wasn't confidence, not really. Something more fragile. "You think this is a game," she said. "It's not." "I know." But neither of us moved. Outside, the rain started again, heavier this time. She leaned in, almost without thinking, and reached past me to grab a folder. The sleeve of her sweater brushed my arm, and her hand lingered, 1 second too long. Neither of us breathed. Then she took a step back. "You'll get yourself in trouble," she said softly. I wanted to ask if she meant me, or both of us. But she was already walking toward the door. Before she left, she hesitated, turned halfway, eyes unreadable. "You work too hard," she said. "Someone should tell you when to stop." Then she smiled, small and unsteady, and left, the smell of rain and her perfume mixing into something that stayed long after she was gone. It started with a message. Monday afternoon, the office was half empty. The hum of printers, the muted tap of keyboards, ordinary sounds, except my heart wouldn't slow down. Mara had been in and out of meetings all day. Every time she passed my desk, I caught her scent before I saw her. Something clean, familiar, and too distracting for its own good. Then my phone buzzed. "Mara, conference room. 10 minutes. Just that. No reason. No punctuation." When I walked in, the blinds were half drawn, rain light slicing the room in thin silver lines. She stood by the table, arms crossed, looking out the window like she was rehearsing calm. "You didn't have to text," I said quietly. She turned, her voice low. "I needed to talk before someone else did." I frowned. "About what?" "Your report," she said, too quickly. "Your numbers caught attention. My brother asked if I've been helping you." "Have you?" Her mouth curved, but not into a smile. "Not enough to explain why you've been working weekends." We both knew that wasn't what this was about. I stepped closer. "So what are you afraid they'll think?" She met my eyes, and something flickered there. Fear, yes, but also something sharper. "I'm not afraid," she said, though her tone betrayed her. "I just don't want to give anyone a story." "Too late," I murmured. Her lips parted, a breath escaping before she could stop it. She turned her face away. "You don't understand what that kind of story costs someone like me." There was a pause, just long enough for the rain to fill it. I wanted to reach out to tell her I didn't care, but the space between us was already electric, dangerous. Then the door handle rattled. We both froze. A knock. Her brother's voice. "Mara? You in there?" She moved fast, grabbing a stack of papers from the table, pushing them toward me. "Pretend we're reviewing this." The door cracked open just enough for him to peek in. "You seen the numbers from..." "Sorry." His gaze bounced between us, suspicious, but she smiled like nothing was wrong. "Just checking a few things," she said smoothly. He nodded, left. The door shut. We both exhaled at the same time. Her hand was still on the papers between us. Mine too. Our fingers brushed, not by accident this time. Neither of us moved. "You shouldn't," she began, but her voice faltered. "Neither should you." Her eyes softened. "You're too young to make promises you can't keep." "Then don't make me keep them." Something shifted in her, I could see it. The wall she always held between us cracked, just enough for a single heartbeat to slip through. She took a step closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her through her blouse. I saw the pulse in her throat, the faint tremor of her breath. For a second, it felt inevitable, the air between us alive, pulling. Her lips parted, not quite a word, not quite a surrender. Then she turned just enough to break it. "Go," she whispered, voice barely steady. "Before I forget why I shouldn't." But neither of us moved for a long time. The rain kept falling, soft against the glass, the sound of something we both wanted and couldn't name. It happened late, the kind of late that makes every sound feel louder, every movement slower. The office had emptied hours ago, but neither of us had left. She sat at her desk, light from the monitor tracing the curve of her face. I stood by the door, pretending to be busy, pretending I wasn't watching her. "Mara," I said finally. She didn't look up. "You should go home." "So should you." Her fingers paused on the keyboard. "If anyone saw you here this late, they'd talk." "They already do." That made her look up, sharply, like she wanted to deny it but couldn't. The silence between us stretched, alive. I took a step closer. "Tell me to stop." Her eyes flicked to the window, then back to me. "Don't make this harder." "I'm not trying to." She stood, pushing the chair back, putting distance between us that didn't feel like distance at all. "You don't know what you're doing," she said, but her voice trembled at the edges. "Maybe not," I said quietly. "But I know what I want." Something in her expression broke, not all at once, but enough. She turned away, pressing a hand to her neck. "You think this is simple? You'll wake up one day and wonder what you were trying to prove." I moved closer. "It's not about proving anything." "Then what?" Her voice cracked on the word, and that was the moment everything tilted. I reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. My fingers grazed her skin, warm, smooth, alive. She didn't pull away. "Mara," I said again, softer this time. She closed her eyes. "You don't know what you're asking." I stepped closer until her back met the edge of the desk. The glow from the screen painted her in pale blue light. My hand hovered near her arm, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat of her. "I'm asking you to stop pretending," I said. She opened her eyes, and whatever was left of her restraint flickered there, struggling to hold. "If I start something I can't finish, then let me finish it." That broke her stillness. She turned, face inches from mine, breath quick. I could feel it against my cheek, could smell the faint trace of wine on her breath. Her hand rose, slowly, uncertainly, until her fingertips brushed my collar, rested there. The contact sent a current through me, sharp and grounding all at once. "You don't understand," she whispered. "People will see. They'll say things. Let them." Her eyes searched mine, desperate and terrified all at once. "You'll regret it," she said. "Maybe," I said. "But not tonight." Her lips parted, so close I could feel the whisper of her breath. Her hand trembled against my chest, then tightened. The air between us went still, the kind of stillness that happens right before something changes forever. Then the sound shattered it, a phone vibrating on her desk, loud, sharp, wrong. She flinched, turned, grabbed it, her brother's name flashing on the screen. She didn't answer, just looked at me, eyes wide, pulse racing at her throat. And in that silence, standing inches apart, I realized neither of us could turn back anymore. She didn't answer the call. She just stared at the screen until it stopped vibrating, the silence after more deafening than the ring itself. Then she set the phone down slowly, as if it might still explode. "Mara," I said, careful, like the air had turned fragile. She exhaled, sharp, controlled. "He knows," she said. "You're ours. The reports. He asked why you keep volunteering for my projects." My stomach tightened. "What did you tell him?" "That you're ambitious." She met my eyes. It wasn't a lie. Just not the whole truth. I tried to speak, but she was already moving, pacing, rubbing her hands together like she needed to keep herself from shaking. "This was stupid," she said finally, voice breaking the rhythm of her footsteps. "I should have seen it coming." I stepped toward her. "Nothing's happened." Her laugh was soft, humorless. "You really believe that?" The question hung between us, heavy. I didn't answer, because we both knew. Nothing had happened, but everything had. Every look, every silence, every almost touch was its own confession. She stopped pacing and faced me. Do you even know what you're risking? I know what I'd lose if I stopped. She shook her head, eyes bright with something close to panic. You think this is about courage? It's not. It's about consequences. I moved closer. Then tell me what you're afraid of. Her voice went low, raw. Of wanting this as much as you do. The words landed between us, undeniable. She pressed a hand to her temple, as if the admission itself hurt. I've spent years building something steady. Respectable. And then you walk in with those stupid late nights and that look like you see right through me. I do, I said quietly. She went still. Her breath caught, her hand falling away from her face. Don't, she whispered. But I couldn't stop now. You think I don't notice the way you stop talking when I walk into the room? Or how you never stand too close, unless you forget for a second? Her eyes flicked toward me, glassy with something she didn't want me to see. Stop, she said again, but it came out weaker this time. I took one step closer, closing what was left of the distance. Her body reacted before her words did, shoulders tense, lips parting like she meant to speak but couldn't. You can lie to them, I said. You can even lie to yourself. But not to me. Her hand trembled when she reached for the back of the chair, steadying herself. You shouldn't say things you can't take back. Then tell me to leave. She didn't. Instead, she brushed past me, close enough that her sleeve caught against my hand, a brief, burning touch. She stopped by the doorway, shoulders rigid. Tomorrow, she said. Don't come in early. Mara. She turned, eyes fierce, but her voice broke on the next word. Please. And then she was gone, leaving the door half open, the scent of her perfume still in the air, and a single truth ringing louder than the rain outside. We'd already crossed the line. She didn't show up the next morning. Or the next. By the third day, I stopped pretending to focus on work. Every time the elevator dinged, I looked up. Every time a shadow passed the glass, my chest tightened. Nothing. Then, just after 6, when most of the lights were out and the office was wrapped in that late evening stillness, she walked in. No coat. No makeup. Just exhaustion written in the curve of her shoulders. I thought you weren't coming back, I said. I wasn't. Her voice was rough, unsteady, like she'd been rehearsing something and forgot the lines halfway through. I stood, unsure whether to move closer or stay put. She solved that for me by stepping forward, closing the space between us one slow breath at a time. I've spent 2 days trying to make this disappear, she said, to remind myself why it can't happen. Did it work? She looked up, eyes tired but bright. No. The word landed with the weight of everything we hadn't said. I reached out, hesitating just before my fingers touched her sleeve. Then what are we doing? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Deciding if we make it worse. For a moment neither of us moved. The air felt charged, thick, pulsing with everything unspoken. I could hear the faint hum of the building's air vents, the sound of her breathing, shallow and uneven. She lifted her hand, touched my collar, barely. Her fingertips trembled as they rested there, like she wasn't sure if she was pushing me away or pulling me closer. I hate how young you make me feel, she murmured. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Her lips curved, small, tired. You don't understand. Feeling young means feeling everything again. Every mistake. Every risk. I'm not afraid of mistakes, I said. Then you haven't made enough. She said it softly, almost tenderly, and for a second I saw what she was really fighting, not me, but herself. I stepped closer until our faces were inches apart. Her breath brushed my chin. Her eyes didn't move. Tell me to stop, I said again. She shook her head, just once. That was enough. My hand found the small of her back, steady, careful, waiting for her to pull away. She didn't. Her hands pressed lightly against my chest, not to resist, but to hold. We stayed like that, close enough to feel each heartbeat, suspended between want and fear. Then she leaned her forehead against mine. Her voice was a whisper against my skin. If this happens, we don't go back. I don't want to, I said. Silence stretched, long and fragile. Then she exhaled, not in surrender, not in defeat, but something in between. Her hand slid up to my neck, her thumb tracing the line of my jaw. I believe you, she whispered. And for the first time, we both stopped pretending. The moment wasn't perfect. It wasn't even right. But it was real, raw, human, and inevitable. When she finally stepped back, her eyes said everything words couldn't. We'd crossed the line, and we both chose to. The city had finally stopped raining. Everything smelled clean, raw, like the air had been rinsed of all its noise. We sat by the window in her small apartment, 2 mugs of untouched coffee between us. The silence wasn't sharp anymore. It was soft, full. Neither of us had spoken since she let me in. She just gestured to the chair, pulled her hair into a loose knot, and sat across from me in one of those quiet moments that didn't need explaining. I thought you'd regret it, she said finally. I thought I would too, I admitted. But I don't. Her smile was small but real, not the practiced one from work, not the cautious one she gave people who wanted too much from her. This one reached her eyes, faint but steady. I keep waiting for the guilt to catch up, she said. For the voice that says I should know better. Does it ever stop? Sometimes, she said, looking out the window. When I forget how old I am. I leaned forward. You don't look old. She laughed, quiet, disbelieving. That's not what I mean. It's not about what people see. It's about what they'll say. I thought of the office, the whispers, the risk. Then I looked at her, the way she tucked her sleeve under her palm, the way she stared out at the street like she was trying to memorize how calm looked. Let them talk, I said softly. They don't get to know what this feels like. She looked back at me, eyes searching. And what does it feel like? I hesitated, not because I didn't know, but because I didn't want to cheapen it with words. So I reached across the table instead, fingers brushing hers. She didn't pull away. Her hand was warm, steady, a quiet answer to everything we hadn't dared to ask. We sat there, just holding hands, watching the light change on the floor. No big speeches. No promises. Just a calm kind of truth that didn't need defending. After a while, she leaned over and rested her head on my shoulder. The smell of her hair, that familiar, soft scent that had haunted me for weeks, filled the space between us. This doesn't make sense, she murmured. Maybe it doesn't have to, I said. She closed her eyes, her breath slowing. I felt her relax against me, the kind of trust that only comes after you've both been brave enough to stop running. We didn't talk about tomorrow. We didn't need to. For now, the world outside could wait. When she finally looked up, her voice was barely a whisper. You're not going anywhere, are you? I shook my head. Not unless you tell me to. She smiled, the kind that settles somewhere deep and stays. Then stay a little longer. And I did, her hand in mine, the rain finally gone, both of us quiet, finally unafraid of being seen. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?